Okay, I think we should be live now. I'm going to check. Sorry for you people. I've been having some technical difficulties. I didn't think that I would be doing it this late, this stream. However, I was kind of I had this important phone call about 2 hours ago, and then I wanted to finish up this movie that I'm doing. Let me just put on my headphones. I'm gonna have total concentration for this one. Let's see if anybody is ready. Okay. Yeah, no camera yet. Just my stupid opinion. This introduction. So, basically, this stream is tangentially related to the Ocasio-Cortez stream from a couple hours ago, and I'll explain why. People are complaining that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is a pro-BDS, pro-Palestine activist, has won a primary to represent the people of Queens and Bronx in the U.S. House. And my response to them would be, first of all, you are aware that she totally outmaneuvered him in the campaign, outmaneuvered Joe Crowley. And also, if you really wanted to stop her, you would have tried harder. you would have probably put a third candidate in the race, a person who represents what you believe. Instead, she's going to be facing a very weak opponent. I'll show you. Let's see, Politico. So this is the Ohio one. I'll get you to the New York one in a second. So I'll show you exactly how stupid these people are, that they're now complaining now after, they wake up, suddenly they realize that not everybody agrees with what they say, and they're wondering what happened. Well, what happened is that you were ignoring what was happening. Okay, you were ignoring the fact that there are people in the state of New York, you thought maybe the people that were alienated from the Democratic Party would be, so to speak, toothless country bumpkins from the middle of West Virginia. And that's the image that you have of West Virginia. I happen to know a couple, not that many people, but some people from West Virginia. I've never looked at their teeth. But the point being that people have to really start to get their heads out of their asses about why this is happening. Okay, you can't focus on your narrow angle of why politics is not going your way. Okay, that's what I have to say about that. We have Jeffrey Allen Johnson back, Mr. JAJ Prime Time, and there's Metadata Man and Just My Stupid Opinion. Just My Stupid Opinion, I just spoke to somebody on the phone who is very interested in the story we're working on. But unfortunately, I don't know if this person has much interest, but you gotta work with who you have. And I'm happy to have Just My Stupid Opinion joining me whenever I want to do a project. I'm happy to have anybody, but the Mattis file, which is what I'm talking about, is the most important news item I've ever worked on personally, and it should be more important to other people, in my opinion, because it shows the bankrupt state of American journalism. Yeah, the Reddit dude. I had to speak him on the phone. Anyway, so today we are going to examine some of the crap that these people are conflating with the story of Ocasio-Cortez. And this actually came out the day well, maybe 2 days before she was nominated. And this person says, Jonathan Neumann says, American liberal Jews are destroying their own religion. So there's a few points I'm going to disagree on, but I'm going to try to read through the whole thing. I don't think it's that long of a story anyway. This American Judaism is broken when two of the Jewish community's most celebrated writers, Michael Chabon and his wife Ayelet Waldman, write an open letter stating that any Jew anywhere who does not act to oppose President Donald Trump and his administration acts in favor of anti-Semitism. Any Jew who does not condemn the president directly and by name for his racism, white supremacism, intolerance, and Jew hatred condones all of those things. You don't have to look far to see why. American Judaism is broken because the Jewish left broke it. That's his remark, Neumann's. He says, a tiresome fixation on Tikkun Olam, which literally means repair of the world, has allowed Judaism to fall into disrepair. So the phrase Tikkun Olam was quietly lifted out of context from a Jewish prayer before the Second World War to mean social justice. Social justice. So sexy. So sexy. Let's take another look at Ocasio-Cortez. See here. Yeah. Sexy enough to make you an anti-Semite, right, Metadata Man? Anyway, the phrase Tikkun Olam was quietly lifted out of, so I already read that, but it was popularized in the 1970s and 1980s by radicals like Michael Lerner, who founded the extreme left-wing magazine Tikkun. Since then, we have been led to believe that the purpose of the Jews in the world is to campaign for higher taxes, sexual permissiveness, reduced military spending, illegal immigration, opposition to fracking, the banishment of religion from the public square, and every other liberal cause under the sun, all in the name of God. I thought you would like that, Metadata Man, but the truth is that Tikkun Olam and its leftist politics have no basis in Judaism. Tikkun Olam is not Judaism at all, but a distinct religion whose adherents, it might be said, have culturally appropriated this ancient faith. It's stupid that he used that phrase, but maybe he's trying to use it as a turn of irony. This religion of Tikkun Olam commands the allegiance of most non-Orthodox Jews and some Orthodox ones who make up the overwhelming majority of the American Jewish community. The dogma of this religion is appealingly simple. Judaism is Tikkun Olam, which is social justice, which is liberalism. The Jews are called upon to do no less and no more than cultivate a liberal paradise in America. In this, liberal Jews have often had the hypocritical backing of the celebrity core, literati, Hollywood executives, academics, politicians, and financiers. As JF would say, the public space. Yeah. Who say one thing in public while in several cases doing unspeakable things in private. That would be Harvey Weinstein. But above all, this liberalism, this Tikkun Olam, teaches that the Jewish people is an outdated and chauvinistic relic with no need for a nation state of its own in its ancient homeland. Consequently, Jewish social justice activists help to defame Israel and weaken America's bond with the Jewish state. The dangerous ideology culminated in the election and administration of Barack Obama, who was hailed as the Tikkun Olam president and synonymously as the first Jewish president. He repeatedly referenced the significance of Tikkun Olam to his own life, nurtured by his liberal Jewish mentors in Chicago. And it was because of this commitment to Tikkun Olam, not in spite of it, that he was the most hostile president toward Israel in history. But now the Tikkun Olam movement is in disarray. Its activists have been evicted from the White House, together with their messiah, replaced by a coalition of religious Christians and traditionalist Jews. I would make the argument that some of the people in the administration are simply atheists who, that they don't like the left. But now the Tikkun Olam and natural as it comes to the political exiles to oppose the new administration, these activists are discovering that left-wing social justice marchers have no place for Jewish warriors. And so the Jews have to choose between social justice and being Jewish. Chabon and Waldman have made their choice. But there is an alternative. A new generation of traditionalist Jews, proud of their heritage and jealous to preserve it, is unimpressed with America's broken Judaism. These Jews know their ancestors did not live to worship a political party nor die for faddish causes. They recognize that American Jewish future depends on overcoming the superficial and ignorant equation of Judaism with leftist politics. What is needed is a real Jewish renewal, a community that stands for religious liberty, not against it, affirms the alliance between America and Israel rather than undermines it, and above all, believes it is a community that has a compelling reason to persist. It's time American Jewry repaired itself instead of the world. Now, a lot of this I think is pretty nice. But I think that, first of all, to call Tikkun Olam is a religion. I would say it's in many cases it's a cult. And I looked this up. This is myjewishlearning.com, and they have this. I am a woman of Reform Judaism. So hey Larry Gerke, welcome back. Thanks for joining me last time too. I literally can't hear the stream over the patio music. I'm just watching the chat. Believe me, Perseus Gold would probably be a stream he would be very interested in it. So, Tikkun Olam has come to connote social action in the pursuit of social justice. The phrase has origins in, I don't know where Augusto is, in classical rabbinic literature and in Lurianic Kabbalah, a major strand of Jewish mysticism originating with the third work of the 16th century Kabbalist Isaac Luria. That's the his name. He's called the Ari in many texts. The term Mipnei Tikkun Olam, perhaps best translated in this context as in the interest of public policy, is used in the Mishnah, the body of classical rabbinic teachings codified circa 200 CE. There it refers to social policy legislation providing extra protection to those potentially at a disadvantage, governing, for example, just conditions for the writing of divorce decrees and for the freeing of slaves. In reference to individual acts of repair, the phrase Tikkun Olam figures prominently in the Lurianic account of creation and its implications. God contracted the divine self to make room for creation. Divine light became contained in special vessels or kalim, some of which shattered and scattered, while most of the light returned to its divine source. Some light attached itself to the broken shards. These shards constitute evil and are the basis for the material world. Their trapped sparks of light gave them power. So do you guys remember? I want you guys to go a little bit down memory lane. Nancy Pelosi had that ridiculous speech where she was talking about the spark of godliness. One second, I need to text my dad. He's wishing me a good Shabbos, so I have to, it's my dad. Number one dude. I hope you guys said hi to your dad today. Otherwise, bad karma if you don't. So anyway, Nancy Pelosi said the whole thing about the spark of godliness when Trump said, these illegal immigrants are, it wasn't that the illegal immigrants were animals. It's that the MS-13 gang members were animals. But of course, by the time the media admitted that it was wrong, everybody had been led to believe otherwise. They were led to believe that he was talking about immigrants as a general concept, which is ridiculous if you actually watch the video. That's not what he did at all. And people then talk about dog whistles and whatever. Well, when you take stuff out of concept, it's you that's blowing the dog whistle. It's not the person talking. So essentially, she came up with this whole speech about, everybody has a spark of divinity in them and everything. Yes, the spark of divinity, is, Larry, I'm getting to this. So the whole concept here is that we live in an imperfect world, and that our mission in life, hi Mr. Wazoo, is to try to make the world better by doing good deeds and things like that. That is the meaning of Tikkun Olam, because we live in an imperfect world. God created the world imperfect by changing himself to create the world, changing the world to create a material world. That by itself broke the perfect existence, and therefore we are repairing the world. Those are what the shards are, and that's how evil was created. So if anybody wants to talk about there being a such thing as the dichotomy of good and evil, where evil is an equal side to good, we don't believe in it in Judaism. We don't. Pinochet, that's very, wow, twice with notification. So we believe that God created the world. Okay, I'm not trying to convert you guys to my religion. Not Jeffrey, not Gerke, not Wazo, not Jimso podcast or Metadata Man. I'm just explaining the concept. in order to understand this Tikkun Olam concept, you have to believe in a God. If you don't believe in a God, it does not matter. If you are an atheist, it makes no sense. The only way to repair the world is to uncover the divinity within each element that you encounter. So if you encounter somebody, let's say you're going to a place where you're going to court for whatever reason. You want to file for something. You want to file an appeal for a fine that they gave you. Let's say your fence, you built your fence on, and it went onto somebody else's lawn. So you go to court, and somebody notices that you may be religious, especially in reference to Jews. So if somebody asks you a question about a certain concept, you're supposed to explain to them the reason behind it. For example, one time, okay, this is a good example. This is a real time. I never had this happen whenever I've had it. I don't think I've ever even been to court. So I had to go to the supermarket once, and when I was leaving, this old dude, a black dude who worked there, he noticed me, and I don't know how he could tell I was Jewish, because I didn't have any clothes on that would indicate I'm Jewish. My karma ran over your dogma. That's a nice slogan. Larry wins the chat for right now. So, look, this guy, he comes up to me and he asks me, what's the deal with the pomegranates? And I'm like, oh, now what happens is that there's our New Year, the Jewish New Year, and the Jewish calendar. In fact, I can bring it up. I have a calendar right here. The Jewish calendar tends to begin in the months of September or October. It never completely lines up. So you will see that the first day of the year, according to us, was apparently Thursday, September 21st, okay? You can't see it, but take my word for it. So September 21st, 2017 was our New Year for this year. So then next year, the New Year is going to be there's a lot of ads in this one. So okay, the next New Year is going to be September 10th, 2018. So on that New Year's Day, we have a feast where we eat pomegranates, because the pomegranate symbolizes, that you should have as many good deeds as the seeds of a pomegranate. It's a symbolism thing. We believe in things that are symbolism. Whom are you? What? Whom said we don't believe in a God? Larry and I have had lengthy talks about this. We just don't believe in man-written books. This is not talking to you personally, guys. I'm just explaining the difference between Tikkun Olam and actual Judaism. Okay, I'm not asking you guys to believe in what I believe. I'm just trying to explain why the whole concept makes no sense if you don't believe in a God. I'm not calling you guys. I'm not saying that that Mr. Wazo. I'm not calling. You're a Christian, okay? So you're a Christian. Good for you. This is kind of a misconception that a lot of these liberal people tell to Christians, that this is the Tikkun Olam is the central concept in Judaism. It's nowhere even close to it. It doesn't even make like the top 100 concepts in it. It's an obscure concept, and the fact of the matter is that if people tell you this, they're misleading you. And also, I would say that the way that they apply it is actually in contravention of the actual message of Scripture. Any Scripture that you want to look at. Not to mention pomegranates are tasty. Not the rotten ones, man. Those things are nasty. So, essentially what I'm trying to tell you here is that a lot of these people who believe in the Tikkun Olam have a very atheistic view of the world. And rather than focus on the actual meaning of this concept, which would have to fit in with a much larger cosmic belief in a in a all-powerful Lord, they choose to focus on this because it's it's more convenient for them to feel better in the world. They are progressive people by nature. They are not believers in an omnipresent Lord. They're not believers in a deity, anybody who has supernatural control over their world. So they're essentially atheists masquerading as people of faith, and it's a very dishonest position to take. Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster for me, Brometheus. That's what he said. Mr. Wazo says I was lying. I am not a Christian. Well, I mean, I don't care. I'm explaining this whole concept here. So the Church of Tikkun Olam is what we're talking about. And essentially, when I see people refer to this as the central concept of Judaism, I instantly look at the person as either extremely this is hilarious. Mr. Wazo, top troll today. Well, not as much as Larry Gerke. I guess you guys are in a competition here. But we're talking about a real problem where the main representatives of a religion have almost no concept of what the religion means, or they're deliberately misleading the public about what it actually is. Because if you're a person and you think that the central concept of, let's say if you said that the central concept of Catholicism was St. Patrick's Day, and you went to a Catholic school and you tried to say that, the people there would laugh at you, and they'd probably say, no, you really don't know what the hell you're talking about. Cloud wizards wearing Arab Bethlehems. You guys are good. It's gonna be a rough podcast because you guys are good trolls today. According to the Lurianic account, the first man, Adam, was intended to restore the divine sparks through mystical exercises, but his sin interfered. As a result, good and evil remained thoroughly mixed in the created world. Well, is that not true? I don't want you to believe in this. I'm just asking, don't you think that's a little more accurate than social justice, that good and evil remain thoroughly mixed in the created world? Do you know anybody? I want to ask you, stop the trolling for just a couple minutes. Do you know anybody that in your mind is 100% the greatest person ever, and then you know another person who's basically pure crap, never did anything good for anybody? There's not a lot of people like that running around. Besides Bull like the leopard. That's basically the issue here. So it's a very practical way to look at the world. Okay, you understand that there's people who are they have good and evil temptations that provoke them to do certain things or not. If we get magic mushrooms at the synagogue, I'm in though. Sorry to tell you, we do drink, but we've never had magic mushrooms. Though I think I know somebody who one time brought special brownies. As a result, good and evil. So thoroughly mixed in the created world, and human souls previously contained within atoms also became imprisoned with the shards. The repair that is needed, therefore, is twofold. The gathering of light and of souls to be achieved by human beings through the contemplative performance of religious acts. The goal of such repair, which can only be effected by humans, is to separate what is holy from the created world, thus depriving the physical world of its very existence and causing all things to return to a world before disaster within the Godhead and before human sin, thus ending history. Okay, that's a lot to swallow. But essentially, it means that that was me. What do you mean? It means that in order to bring about the redemption, you have to work on yourself. Tikkun Olam today, so it has become such a commonly used term in liberal Jewish circles that it is the basis for a joke in which an American Jew visiting Israel asks her guide, "How do you say Tikkun Olam in Hebrew?" Because they don't use it there. Nobody. If you go to a country like Israel and you ask about Tikkun Olam, they wouldn't know what you're talking about, because it's not. It's actually a very secular term that is almost entirely limited to people who they come from countries where people are very secular and aren't involved in religion. They're not spiritual people. The phrase Tikkun Olam was first used to refer to social action work in the 1950s. In subsequent decades, many other organizations and thinkers have used the term to refer to social action programs, tzedakah, which is charitable giving, and gemilut chasadim, acts of kindness, and progressive Jewish approaches to social issues. It eventually became reassociated with Kabbalah, and thus for some with deeper theological meaning. The phrase Tikkun Olam remains connected with human responsibility for fixing what is wrong with the world. Contemporary usage of the phrase shares the rabbinic concept of mipnei Tikkun Olam, a concern with public policy and societal change, and with the Kabbalistic notion of tikkun, the idea that the world is profoundly broken and can be fixed only by human activity. Tikkun Olam, once associated with a mystical approach to all mitzvot, now is most often used to refer to a specific category of mitzvot. Mitzvot are commandments, by the way, involving work for the improvement of society, a usage perhaps closer to the term's classical rabbinic origins than to its long-standing mystical connotations. Now, I want to say this: this is a balanced view of it. I'm happy that they did go to the source, but it's bullshit that people use it for what it's used today. Bull, do you drink that Manischewitz Concord? No, God, no, that stuff's disgusting. But essentially, it leads to people who are so stupid and so policing. Tikkun Olam is social justice in the sense that people utilize their guilt over what's happening in the world in order to create the sense that their own self must be purged of the sins that are in their mind undermining the world as a society. You see all the time. It's not just the Jewish social justice warriors. You see it also with some of these progressive churches, especially the Presbyterians, and I believe the Lutherans are pretty big on it. The Methodists as well. The mainline Protestants are just as susceptible to it. And if you really look at what they preach, these mainline Protestants, this is why evangelical Christianity is much stronger than mainline Protestantism, and Catholicism is kind of going the same way as the mainliners. It has nothing to do with the concepts of Christianity. If you want to be a Christian, you should believe in the concepts of the church, of the Vatican or whatever, all that stuff. Now, unfortunately, now they have this Pope who's basically gone the way of all the other SJWs. What is wrong with Manischewitz? Is it kosher? It's kosher. It just tastes like shit. What do you want? Just because you're allowed to drink something, that doesn't mean that it's good. Infused magic mushrooms. I don't know, man. So you have people like these, the birthright people. If you don't know what birthright is, now you guys do know. Mr. Wazo, you found out that I'm Jewish. I also used to be in the Israeli army a long time ago. And what happened was, before that, I went on this thing called Birthright Israel. Now, every Jewish American, I believe, I don't know if other people around the world, there's an organization or umbrella group of organizations called Birthright that they give you a free 10-day trip to Israel to learn about Israel. There's different types of programs for it. There's ones that are more religious. There are ones that are less religious. There's ones that they have a stronger focus on one thing or the other. There's a wide variety of them. Christians have nothing to do with the Vatican. I said Catholics, dude. Did I say Christians? I should have said Catholics. But essentially, the real problem is that if you are a person who believes in a certain religion, you should not be preaching things that are contradictory to the scriptures of that religion. We have a person named Arjun who watches this show who is Hindu. I wouldn't tell Arjun, in order to be a social, I don't think that there's a social justice movement within Hinduism that says, you know what, for the benefit of Hinduism, we're going to say that, Shiva is really, some, I don't know. Shiva's like the first Martin Luther King or something. it doesn't compute. It has nothing to do with one another. If you were to inject this social justice into Hinduism, I can guarantee you a lot of these Hindu believers would probably say, you have to back off and stop telling us how to run our own business. We went to Sunday school, says Larry Gerke. I'm with A. Pinochet. I'll hit it extra hard for Jeff. So you guys are all getting high. Good for you. But so I went on this trip when I was, I think I was 18 years old, and I actually broke my one of my leg bones on it, my fibula. And so I actually missed half of the trip. So, that sucked. These people, they went on this trip, 5 people. It says Katie Fenster says that she wasn't planning on walking out on her Birthright Israel tour when she arrived, but during the free 10-day trip, she grew increasingly frustrated that the answers to her questions about the Israel-Palestine conflict all came from one perspective and did not include Palestinian views. We felt like we weren't being engaged with honestly, she told the Forward. So on Wednesday, the final day of activities on her trip, she and 4 other women staged a walkout in Tel Aviv, meeting up with the controversial anti-occupation group Breaking the Silence for a tour of Hebron in the West Bank, where they met with Palestinians and saw a shrine dedicated to an Israeli terrorist. That would probably be Baruch Goldstein, who was he killed a bunch of Palestinians in 1994. He took an M16 into the Cave of the Patriarchs and killed a bunch of them. The video taken of the walkout, which has since gone viral, shows the 5 women being angrily confronted by other trip participants and their Israeli. I didn't watch this video. And their Israeli tour guide who accused them of pulling a fast one and trying to enforce their opinions on the rest of the participants. Brandeis University professor Leonard Sachs, who has conducted numerous studies on birthright, told the Forward that he wasn't aware of a past incident like this. So, I don't know what the fuck's going on here. Maybe they might have taken the video down. I'm not sure. The walkout, which Fenster insists was not planned before the trip, is the latest salvo in the effort by American Jewish groups critical of the Israeli government, like If Not Now and Jewish Voice for Peace, to change how Birthright and other Jewish institutions that focus on the young adults talk about the Palestinian issue. Let's see here. I got a message from somebody. So this person says, Judaism is about asking questions, she added. It seems so surprising that they would be upset at us for asking questions. In response, Birthright officials criticized troublemakers for disrupting the experience for other participants and defended its apolitical programming. Fenster and others who walked out, all between 22 and 25, say that they were provided with maps that did not show the demarcation of Israeli-occupied territories and that an expert speaker refused to answer their questions about detained Palestinian children. Well, if that happened, they should share the video. She says that their growing frustration over not getting the full picture spurred them halfway through the trip to decide to walk out on the final day. Fenster insists that she went into the trip with an open mind and didn't pre-plan the walkout, though she and the others who left early, who claim they didn't know each other beforehand, are all members of If Not Now, the leftist grassroots Jewish occupation anti-occupation group that has long protested what they see as Birthright's inadequate coverage of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. One of the others in her small group, Danielle Raskin, created a Twitter account to document her trip and tagged If Not Now in her first message. So it seems to me that this was planned. They're just not being forthright about it. Let me see here. I've made this account to document and share my experience traveling around Israel on Birthright. I felt conflicted for a long time about coming on a Birthright, but here I am with 1 day not down and 9 to go. So that was made on the 19th. So here's a person who is an actual an actual Free Palestine person, and he says, "Are you a member of notnow.org? And do you identify as being pro-Palestinian and/or support the Palestinian liberation?" Okay, can you guys hear me? Tell me in the chat. Okay, let me know, because I had an internet fuck up here. Let me know if let me know if you guys can hear me. Let's see here. Am I back? I think I'm back. Let me see if it's working. How's it going? Metadata Man says you can. Jeffrey, can you hear me? Okay. So I don't know where I left off, but somebody just called me. Somebody called me Ramon Waters. All right, so getting back to here, I don't know if you guys, where did I leave off? Now, this woman who went on the trip, she claimed that she was not affiliated with, she wasn't doing this as a stunt or anything. And then an actual pro-Palestine guy said, well, by doing this, you're actually violating BDS, which is the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions movement, which is the movement that boycotts the the Birthright Israel trip. So in essence, she can't work. So here we go. Then she says, this person who is pro-Israel says, you tell her she broke all the rules. I don't think she wants to help anybody but herself. She wants to be famous, pretending to care for Palestinians. Nobody needs people like that. And then this person says, you made this account to virtue signal on your free trip to Israel. That much is patently obvious. Guess what? This was a planned PR stunt. Who knew, right? And, this one says, this was a planned PR stunt by If Not Now. So that was on June 28th, the day that this pretty much started. And this person calling this lady out did it on the 20th, so a day afterward. What else is going on here? So people are not buying her story. It's a bunch of nonsense, and it really doesn't make any sense. The 5 women reached out to If Not Now for help trying to figure out how to get Birthright to engage with the occupation. If Not Now spokesman Yonah Lieberman told the Forward. The group gave them information about breaking the silence with whom they had organized a trip to Israel in March. The video shows the 5 women calmly explaining their reason for it makes sense that these would be women, because only women can think irrationally like this. I'm sorry. Oh, well, I guess a few men who behave like them too. And men that aren't men anymore, amid their Israeli tour guide's complaints. But it also shows other participants on the Birthright bus were not happy about the walkout, which came after days of the If Not Now members' tough questions about Palestinian issues during programming. You guys are the reason the world doesn't change, one person says. Multiple people asked not to be put on video, at least one using profanities. Everything that you guys said, we listened to. We had our phones down. we were looking at you, but you're disrupting everyone's experience, another participant said. In a statement to the Forward, Birthright said those who walked out weren't being fully forthcoming. We encourage Birthright Israel participants to analyze the complexities of the Middle East, the statement said. Yet this video omits the portion where the troublemakers repeatedly berated trip leaders, attempting to actually take over the trip from its leaders. That is the opposite of respectable debate and consideration of divergent views. Over the past 18 years, more than 650,000 young adults have participated in Birthright Israel's apolitical. I wouldn't say it's apolitical. They're being disingenuous there. There's definitely a political agenda behind it that helps them explore their heritage and provides them with firsthand observation so that they can form their own opinions. Unfortunately, a group this week arrived with a determination to interfere with an experience that other participants are entitled to enjoy. Fenster questioned why the protest group that left their free trip to Israel were being labeled troublemakers. I think it really depends on what Jewish values they want to instill in us, she said, adding, if someone asks questions you don't want to answer, it can be troubling. Well, you don't know if they answer the questions or not, because I haven't seen any video or not that shows that people refuse to talk to them. She also took issue with Birthright's claim that it is apolitical. It's not just a free trip. It's not an apolitical organization, she said. It has explicitly political goals. Its donors are all far right-wing extremists like Sheldon Adelson. Adelson, the billionaire casino mogul and Republican megadonor, has given more than $400 million to Birthright over the years. That's true. The trips are also funded by the Israeli government, the Jewish Agency for Israel, the Federation System, and other donors. The Jewish Agency is the body that's mainly concerned with with immigration to Israel by encouraging Jews to immigrate. It's not a coincidence that Sheldon Adelson is a donor to Birthright and Donald Trump, because both are working toward and believe in endless occupation and denial of dignity for Israelis and Palestinians, Lieberman said. Now, Lieberman is the person who's affiliated with If Not Now. He's the leader. Birthright came under criticism last year after it was reported that an operator of the trips had been promoting an extension program to volunteer at illegal Israeli outposts in the West Bank. The program was later discontinued. In addition to supporting the walkout, If Not Now has also handed out information flyers about the occupation to departing Birthright participants at John F. Kennedy International Airport, including Fenster's trip. Birthright staffers reportedly told participants not to engage with the pamphleteers and tore up their materials. So, I don't know. Well, we can look at that a different time. Before leaving for Hebron, Fenster and the others were made to sign a waiver allowing them to leave early, but which also confirmed that Birthright has the right to charge them for the entire cost of the program, around $3,000. They also lost their $250 deposit, but so far their flights home have not been canceled. That means they'll be flying home on the same flight as the people they so recently left behind. Oh, that'll be a horrible, horrible flight. I assume TSA will escort somebody out. A lot of things can easily be said in the heat of the moment, Fenster said. I hope that they're curious about what we learned. From what I understand, nobody gives a fuck what she's saying. Lieberman said such an incident definitely could happen again. Many of this summer's Birthright participants had reached out to them and accessed their materials. We expect that more people will challenge Birthright's incomplete narrative in different ways throughout the summer, he said. So, let me look at the chat real quick. I think this chat is timed out, so I'm going to have to do a new one. Fuck. Be bold, whip it out. Yeah, Larry Girk, you're really standing up trying to get me banned. Let me see here. What is going on here? I don't even know what the hell you idiots are talking about. Shards. Dude, I was trolling some females. What happened with him saying about him showing his circumcision? I've assembled an audience. No, you haven't. There's exactly as many people as there always are. This channel doesn't have any bigger of an audience. By the way, you guys are always asking me shit, but nobody's sharing the channel because it's always the same, except for Metadata Man. I'm sure he probably is, but you guys probably are not. Larry Gerke, I know, emailed the channel to other people. But let me see here. Yeah, I don't even know if you guys are even listening to me. So, but then you have the same people. You have this Dyke March over here in Windy City Times. So the essential problem has been, last year, if you've paid attention to this channel for a while, there were some dykes, some full-on bull dyke lesbians who had a march in Chicago like they do every year. And some of them got kicked out for having pride flags with the Star of David on it. Yeah, Mr. Wazoo, you are new, but I think you were on a few times ago. We share bold, but like sticks, you have to clean up your bookshelf. Listen, I don't give a shit about anything anybody says about this bookshelf. I email it to people. You're always talking shit about Abby Martin, and everybody I know wants to fuck her. Well, okay, if you want people who like Abby Martin to come and watch this show, and then you want me to not talk shit about Abby Martin, that's a bridge I'm not willing to cross yet. Is there any other gay Jews besides Milo? There's probably too many. There's way too many, and it's honestly this is the problem I'm talking about, that people are too focused on where they put their pee-pee, that they don't. This is not a religion that's about you doing whatever the hell you want. It's a religion about the scripture. It's a religion that has a big roots in a heritage that goes back 5,000 years. And yet you have people like Larry Gerke that want to talk about Abby Martin. She has nice legs or whatever. You're never going to meet her, so what do you care? Where are you going to meet her? At the, you're going to go to the Jimmy Dore show, live show, which she's going to soon. By the way, Abby Martin is appearing on more and more shows, probably because she's auditioning for a new gig, since Telesur is likely running out of money to pay her. My wife's faggot brother. Yeah, exactly. So, started as an alternative to the Chicago Pride Parade. So it wasn't enough that you had a bunch of flaming homosexuals that were marching around Chicago in the 70s. They had to have a Dyke March. So the Dyke March and Rally began in 1996, and since then it has grown to specifically include queer, bisexual, and transgender people. Then it's not really a Dyke March. The march has expanded its focus to oppressed people everywhere across the world. Then it's not really a Dyke March. According to the collective press release, this year they are marching in solidarity with the queer and trans communities of Palestine and to demand public outcry against Israeli pinkwashing tactics, efforts to appropriate queer liberation and weaponize it against Palestinians in the form of occupation and ethnic cleansing. Our communities from Little Village to Palestine are facing police militarization, occupation, surveillance, and border police. So then you go down here. It says, we hope, what do you, based on what you have now, is there anything you would have done differently at the 2017 Dyke March and Rally? We are a small, all-volunteer collective with limited, completely grassroots funding, and together we put on a march and rally that draws thousands of people every year. We are striving to grow our capacity to support our communities as best we can. After last year, it is clear that we all need to engage in more intentional conversations around global anti-colonial solidarity and how all anti-racist work must inherently be anti-Zionist. All of it, by the way. Last year, there were a few folks in it. There were a powerful gathering of queer and trans people of color within and alongside a Latinx community that has a deep culture and history of resistance in Chicago. There's no such thing as Latinx. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. There's no such thing. Nobody says Latinx who's actually from a country like Puerto Rico. Anybody who lives there, they don't say Latinx. You fucking idiots. We hope to prevent this sort of thing from happening in the future by making our politics very clear to the public and training more volunteers in de-escalation. So I want to be clear on this. For all you so-called progressive people that may watch the show, there's not that many of them. But the progressive people are more concerned about the fucking pronouns of Latino people than whether they have any food to eat. That's why they support the Venezuelan government. which is, they would rather confiscate people's cryptocurrency and throw them in jail than have them actually earn a living and try to do something that helps themselves, because they believe that everybody should be equal. Mr. Wazo, no, I'm not going to calm down. These people are idiots. What do you hope this year's participants and spectators take away from the event? We hope that folks leave with a stronger sense of solidarity and understanding of the connections between oppressed people in Chicago and around the world. Our communities, from Little Village to Palestine, are facing militarized policing, occupation, and surveillance. Dyke March is a gift we want to give to Chicago, and we especially... This is not going to accomplish anything, ever. It's bullshit. There's nothing to do. There's nothing... The Dyke March happened last year. What changed since then? Nothing. Nothing happened. Did anything happen that really made that really changed? No. There was one that I saw earlier that was... Oh, here was another one. They said, are there any other rules people should be aware of? We would like people to know we are a body and fat-positive organization. In Chicago and much of the world, people who are categorized as women are not allowed to show their chests without risk of violence and arrest. We encourage everyone to cover their nipples as a gesture of solidarity with those whose bodies are unfairly policed and controlled. Who knows what the fuck that even means? Larry Gerke, that's a fine point. Although, look at these women, if you can call them that. What was the other one? So, I mean, yeah, this is a great opportunity for this. Yeah, is this what you want, Larry? Is that what you want? Yeah. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Yeah. Fantastic view there. Jeez. So no, I think this is all bullshit, and that now people are saying, well, it's because of Ocasio-Cortez we have to worry about it. No, you idiots, the liberal people within the Jewish community, you've created this. Now we have to deal with it, and that's why I am disowning them, and I'm going to say they don't represent me. I'm actually better represented by people like you, even though you're constantly talking about shrooms and getting hand jobs from people in the chat. You guys represent me much better than a bunch of weirdos that go on a trip and claim that they're trying to make some sort of political statement when you can actually see that people don't even believe them. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Craziest thing in the world, as Bill Clinton would say. So Ryu's just... That's it. I'm going to end this stream. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. I think I'm done for today. I'll talk to you. I'll tell you guys probably in a day or two. We'll see if there's any more streams coming up. But I want you guys to really process this, that this whole religion that they've formed around Tikkun Olam is a charade. It has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with actual Judaism. Mr. Wazo says, picture of a pretty bird on the thumbnail. Pictures of gay marches in the stream. Well, yeah, the whole... Why did I use... I think somebody asked earlier why I put the pretty bird thing. Yes, these people are going out there. It's not just the Dyke March people, who look basically like, like somebody tie-dyed a bunch of cows. It's not just the women who went on this trip and started pretending, oh, we're just trying to have a conversation. If you want a conversation, then why don't you just call a phone sex hotline, and there you get like a real conversation. You're going on a trip. It's an organized trip. You know there's a political agenda. You oppose the agenda. You want to impose your agenda on that trip, and then you get surprised when people disagree with you. Well, I guess you're just gonna have to live with that and shut the fuck up. And people are just, and by the way, it's gonna be funny to hear about their plane ride back. So have a great rest of your evening, and I'll talk to you guys later. Good night.